Hi there, everyone. We're getting really close to Easter, so we need to start planning what we're going to have for desserts, for meals, for whatever you want to make. So I think a really good dessert is a coconut cake. And so I'm going to make a coconut cake and show you the best way I know how to make one. It's going to be a buttercream frosting with coconut. There are options of cream cheese frostings. I just personally like the buttercream. When I was growing up, my younger sister Susie made a coconut cake, and she made a bunny one, and those are a lot of fun. I've never made one, but she had like little jelly beans that she decorated with, and we still have the photo somewhere. But anyway, I'm just going to do a regular, standard, classic coconut cake. And it's a real easy recipe, and it's really, really good if you like coconut. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. These are all the ingredients that are going to go into making our coconut cake. You're going to have sugar, flour, eggs, vanilla, buttermilk, coconut, baking soda, and baking powder, butter, salt, and eggs. And these are just the ingredients for the cake. I will show you later the ingredients for our frosting. And I always do a buttercream frosting for our coconut cake. After you preheat your oven to 325, you're going to grease a couple of pans. You could do 2 or 3. I have these really old ones that my mother gave me also. I'm not going to use these. But I can either do 3 cake pans and layer it in 3s, or I can do 2. So I'm going to start greasing my pans. I'm not really sure if I'm going to do 2 or 3. I'm deciding in the next couple of seconds. So here's our pans. I think I'm going to use 2. So we're going to set these. You're going to have 3 different parts of this cake going on simultaneously. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your flour, your baking soda, your baking powder, and your salt and combine it in a bowl, just like I've done here with like a whisk. And then you're going to set that aside. And then what you're going to want is you're going to have a total of 4 eggs. You're going to have 2 whole eggs. And then you're going to have 2 egg whites. So we'll do the whole eggs first, and now we're going to separate. We want the egg whites, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to put the egg whites in with the 2 regular and keep these separate. And then you can use your yolk for, save it and see if you're going to use it for something else. But this is what you want. You want 2 whole eggs and 2 egg whites set aside. And then the next thing that we're going to do is in a large bowl, you're going to mix your sugar, and you're going to mix your buttermilk. Where did I put my buttermilk? Then you're going to put your buttermilk and your vanilla in a separate bowl. It's 1.5 cups of buttermilk, and then I think it's 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. I'm just kind of guesstimating, and put that separate. So then you'll have your flour mixture separate, you'll have your eggs separate, your buttermilk and vanilla, and then you're going to get your large bowl here. And you're going to have your butter, oil, sugar, everything you're going to mix together first, the butter, oil, and sugar. So here's our butter. And then you can use whatever kind of oil you want, like vegetable oil, whatever you want. I use a lot of olive oil, and that's what I have, so that's what I'm going to use. So your butter, your oil, and your sugar will all go here, and we're going to mix it together first. Here's your buttermilk and vanilla. You want to mix all that together. So now we're going to go over to the mixer and start mixing everything. So once your butter, oil, and sugar is combined, then you're going to add your eggs individually. Okay, so that's combined. Now we're going to add our eggs and egg whites. We're going to kind of do that separately as it creams together. And then once we get all of it in, we're going to cream this together till it's really fluffy, right about 3 minutes. It's been 3 minutes, so now we're going to add our flour mixture alternately with our buttermilk mixture. And this was the flour mixture that also had the baking soda and powder and salt. We're just going to do this kind of little by little and alternating between the dry mixture and the buttermilk. Once your cake batter is all creamy like this, then you're going to add your coconut by hand. You're going to mix it all in, not with the mixer. You're just going to kind of stir everything together. That's what you're going to do. Just blend it all together. You can use a mixer too. I'm just hand doing this right now. So then we're going to get ready to pour them in our cake pans. Here's our nice creamy coconut batter. Our coconut cream. Very creamy. So now we're going to fill our cake pans, and I have two. I decided to go with two. When you do 3 layers, it makes it prettier. I think it's really pretty. You have that much more to frost and to assemble, so I just prefer to do it in 2. But if you have, like I had those other old baking pans I showed you, those are actually very thin. So I could have used those if I had a third one that was that thin. But I'm just going to fill these up, and our oven is preheated to 325 degrees. These are going to bake 30 to 40 minutes, and so I always start out at the lowest amount, which is 30. Okay, they're all filled, and now I'm going to put them in the oven. So you want to put it 2/3 the way down on the rack, not on the middle rack, but further down, 2/3 the way down. 325 will start at 30 minutes, and we'll check it with the toothpick to see if it comes out clean. Okay, these are ready, and all you do is you stick a toothpick in the center, and if it comes out clean, you know it's done. So these 2 cakes took 40 minutes to bake, and like I said, it's anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes, and in my oven it took a full 40 minutes. So now I'm going to let them cool probably about an hour before I frost them. And I will kind of loosen them up in about 10 minutes around the edges before I take them out. To make my buttercream, I'm going to use a hand mixer because I have more control and it really needs to be beaten good. So you're going to use 1 stick or a 1/2 cup of real butter. You're going to have 2 cups of confectioner's sugar, a teaspoon and a half of vanilla, and 2 tablespoons of milk. And the first thing we're going to do is beat the butter till it's real creamy. Then we're going to add the powdered sugar, and then we're going to add the vanilla. The last thing we're going to add is the milk. And once we add the milk, we're going to beat this for about 3 or 4 minutes till it's really creamy. So you want to gradually add the powdered sugar and beat. We haven't put the milk in yet. We're still blending. Last step is pour 2 tablespoons of milk. And now we're going to blend this for 3 or 4 minutes till we're going to whip it till it's real creamy. It's going to be a real creamy buttercream. So as the old saying goes, if it's not broken, don't fix it. At the last minute, I decided to use a different recipe that I'd never tried instead of my good old-fashioned recipe I've used all these years. And this is the first time in my entire life that a cake hasn't turned out. I have never, ever had a problem in my life with a cake. And I won't give you the name of the recipe I use because I don't want to harm anyone. But this is supposed to be my coconut cake, so I am going to top it. But there's really nothing I can do to fix it. I'm sure it'll be delicious, but this whole thing just kind of was flopped. The cake sunk. I mean, the buttercream frosting turned out. Everything, it's just the cake sunk. And I followed exactly the instructions. So my lesson here is stick with what you know. Hi there, everyone. This is my blooper coconut cake. Now, which I didn't mention earlier in this video, at the last minute, just before I made this, I decided to do a different recipe than what I've been doing all these years. And I'm trying to figure out what went wrong. The cake kind of is tore up. It's sunk in. And the only thing I can think of, I've never baked this one before, and I should have stuck with the original one that I've done. But it said to bake this on the lower rack, which seemed odd to me, but I did it, and I'm having second thoughts. I'm wondering if that's why it sunk. I'm thinking that's a reason. So I think it's good to be transparent. I'm sure this coconut cake tastes delicious because the buttercream is delicious. And everything, I tasted some because I still have some in the pan. But I think this recipe has a flaw in it. I haven't figured it out exactly yet, but there is a flaw. And I believe the flaw is in baking it on the bottom rack. I will try to figure it out, but I'm going to put this down and we'll try it. So it is unfortunate when you go through a lot of time and effort to bake something and this happens, but let's give it a try anyway. It really tastes delicious. It really does. Honestly, this is the very first cake in my whole life that has never turned out. So I think there could be a couple of variables in it, but one major one I think is baking it on the very lower rack. It just seemed odd to me. I'll try one more bite. It's good. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with this, if I'm going to give you that recipe or not. I don't think I am. But I am going to show this because I think we need to show our mistakes sometimes too, so we could try to figure out together what went wrong. This is very delicious, even if it's kind of funny looking. So I hope if you make a coconut cake that you figure out what I did wrong. Thank you. I'm going to have my original coconut cake recipe in the description so you don't feel robbed. There are a few possibilities of why this happened. It could have been air bubbles during the batter of the cake being made. It could have been the temperature. Most cakes I've baked are all at 350 degrees. This recipe was 325 and on the lower rack. So I'm not really sure. I think any one of those could have played a role, but I don't want you to feel cheated on getting a recipe that always works for me. So I am going to put my original coconut cake recipe in the description. Thank you.